Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of Memories of Margaret, where the life and legacy of Margaret Curle will be shared through photos and stories of her love for Christ, her family, her love of learning, and her love of all people. I am your host, Martha Sue French. I am also the youngest of 6 children of Howard and Margaret Curle. Now, if you've been following the journey, this is episode 6. And I'm excited today that we have another guest joining us. And she started it all. So joining me today is Myrtle and Curle Rudolph. When we have a guest, the format will be I will read a poem by Mama, and the remainder of the broadcast will be asking questions and sharing memories. So welcome, Anne, or as I call you, Sissy.
Thank you, Sissy.
Now, there may be viewers out there tuning in who are not familiar with our family dynamic. So could you please provide us with a brief bio, a background information about you?
Yes, thank you. I am the oldest of the 6 of Howard and Margaret, and I am very honored to have that privilege of beginning the dynasty. And as Mama always said she said when she was younger that she had asked God for 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls, and that is exactly what he gave to her. I am the oldest. I have 3 brothers that followed me, and then my 2 sisters came afterwards, and we are still a tight family, and we thank God for that.
Absolutely. And I know Mama often referred to you and I as bookends. So here we are, the bookends today. You started it, I ended it. Now,
Yes.
in the intro every week, I state how the podcast includes Mama's love of all people. So it's fitting that today's episode of Memories of Margaret and the poem is entitled I Love People. Now, I'll read the poem, and then from there, we'll jump into some memories. Does that sound okay to you?
That's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the poem I Love People can be found in the poetry book From My Heart to Yours. So here goes. I love people. I love people. All people, short people, tall people, happy people, sad people, good people, bad people, young people, old people, timid people, bold people, black people, white people, wrong people, right people. I love people. I love people, all people, large people, small people, student people, teacher people, sinner people, preacher people, country people, town people, up people, down people, poor people, rich people. I don't care which people. I just love people. And then at the end, it says, love one another as I have loved you. John chapter 15, verse 12.
That is so beautiful, and that is our mama.
It
That is
is.
her. She could always find a way to make a poem out of something that she heard or just sit down, and she had that talent to write. And I just want to read this little quick poem that I came across in her book, the same poetry book, People Watcher.
Oh, perfect.
And it says, I'm never bored wherever I go because I enjoy watching people. And so wherever there are people around, I'm fascinated by sight and by sound of people at work, at rest, or at play. I like it so much, I could do it all day. So many people in action I've seen have been so much better than those on a screen of a TV set or a movie theater. Some are seen early, others seen later. Some things I see cause me to smile, and 2, there are sad sights once in a while. The young and the old, the short and the tall. I really enjoy watching them all. It's quite interesting and costs not a dime. So why don't you try it sometime? And as I was reading that and listening to yours of her poem, I Love People. I'm not sure, but I think it might have been something that was inspired by her growing up as an only child. And she was around a lot of adults as she grew up. She was raised by her great aunt, her grandmother's sister, and it was she was around a lot of people. And recently we were given a diary, 5-year diary of hers, and she had some of the most interesting um, um, entries in the diary of what people were doing. And it might not have been something fascinating, but it was fascinating to her.
Yes.
And I think that helped her. And as we remember, when we read about her, some, things we, didn't know or realize, that she had an illness. They kept her at home early on, and she was taught at home. And I think that helped her with her love of learning and not being around a lot of people, but maybe her age, but not being around a lot of people. And she developed this wanting to learn, wanting to know more about people. And that might have been the reason she said, I want 6 children. She didn't know what a headache it would be.
Yes, we were a handful, I'm sure. Now, as the oldest, say you probably have a lot of memories, and I don't, but also you left home earlier too. You left in what, 1969, was it?
Right.
So what are the earliest memories you have of mama and or daddy?
I remember, and now that I look back at it, I didn't realize it then, but they're struggles.
Mm,
They're struggles. They're trying to make ends meet. They're trying to provide, because our mother was a high school graduate, and at that time that was a very great accomplishment. Although she was very brilliant. She was the valedictorian of her class. She could have gone further, but she didn't for whatever reason. And then our dad, he was not a high school graduate. He stopped to take care of his grandparents who reared him and his aunts. And I just think that there was more that they could have done or they wanted to do, but couldn't do, didn't do. But God placed them together. He
yes,
provided for them. And as we started to come along, um, they had had their hands full, and they had to do whatever it took in order to provide for us. And I'm so thankful for that. Very thankful for that. And I did leave home early, not early, but after high school, and went to college, and never returned really to reside there in Kentucky. But I came back periodically from went came home for different breaks and things, and looking at the situation and really appreciating where what they had done, and appreciating my siblings as I saw them growing up and saw you guys accomplishing different things. And it was so heartwarming, and the love. And we did not know what we didn't have,
we did.
but we knew that we had love. They took us to church, they took us to Sunday school, although the transportation was a little sketchy sometimes, and sometimes we had to get rides from here and there. And
Right?
but they provided that for us. And they had at that time a village. We did not
Absolutely.
know it was a village, but it was a village. There were many people. Our mom and dad were both only children. They grew up as only children. We found out later they had siblings. A sibling, each had a sibling, but they didn't grow up with them. But there were different people we call aunt and uncle and cousins, and that was our village. And they helped our mom and dad provide for us.
One of the things I had brought out, you were talking about when you come back home and realizing how much they've done, like later on in life. The similarities you and I have are, like I said, well, we're the bookends. You're the oldest, I'm the youngest, but we're the only two who actually lived outside of Kentucky. And you and I are the only two that are left-handed. And you and I are the only two who actually went on to get bachelor's degrees. So again, the education piece, the learning, the love of learning, Mama instilled that in all of us at an early age, and just that love of learning. And I think that part of that is has shaped who we are. So you have told a fascinating story about Mama and your school. So can you share that with us?
Yes, I remember when I was in high school, I did have, I was urged, and I guess by her, to take all these courses and classes, and at that time it was hard. So I remember one incident. I had a lot of homework, and I was up late, and I was struggling, and Mama, she always wanted to know what we were doing, what we were studying, how it was coming along, because she had this thing for learning. She always wanted to learn more, and that's why I said I think, she could have gone further, but she didn't, and it was God's plan for her. But I remember I was up, and I might have even been crying. Oh, I got all this homework to do. And da, da, da." She said, "Well, let me help you with this one." And I am still not sure which class it was. It might have been my English. It might have been Mr. Blair. It
Oh,
might have been. I'm not sure. But she's like, because she loved writing and reading and this and that. It might have been that class. So I said, "Okay, Mama." I said, "I'll let you do this one for me," I guess I said, so while I was doing something else. And so she did it, and she was so proud, and she was so happy. And I guess I never said anything to the teacher, here's my homework I turned in. And when I got it back, the teacher said, "This is not up to your usual expectation, my usual expectations of you." And I showed it to Mama, and we both kind of chuckled because
that's
we knew
funny.
that it was her doing. It wasn't mine, but she tried, and I'm sure she got something out of it. I'm sure she, when she was looking at it, she was probably going deeper than I would have done, or maybe not as deep, but whatever it was not my usual. And we laughed at that. And she said, "I won't help you again."
I love that story because I can just see her doing that.
I know.
And that's the thing. Now, what do you remember about like the living conditions we grew up in?
The living conditions were very, very, very basic, very basic, very, very poor, very scarce. Our food, our surroundings. We shared rooms, and we grew up on farms, and um, and Daddy was scraping to make ends meet, and working for other people. And Mama, she would go out and work for other people when we got a little older, when all of us were mostly in school. And we had hand me downs from those people she worked for. And it was bad at this time. As we look back, we were very poor. We were very, very poor. We didn't have. We
Dirt poor.
ate, but she made everything stretch. None of us were hungry.
You
None
know,
of
the
us.
funny
I mean,
thing is, to this day, and it didn't dawn on me till about maybe 10, 15 years ago, but some of the recipes that Mama had, especially for like, let's say meatloaf, and I make it like Mama makes it, not realizing that all the stuff she put in it was to make it stretch.
right,
It's not
right,
really
right,
like, the
right,
recipe, like
right,
the breadcrumbs and the this
right,
and the that.
right,
I'm
right,
like,
right.
wait a minute, that was to make it stretch.
Yeah. And one of the things that I remember, we would drink hot water, sugar, and milk.
Oh my God, I love that. That was a
I
delicacy.
mean, there was no tea, there was no coffee, but it was hot water, sugar, and milk. And I'm sure the milk was powdered milk, probably from the subsidy or whatever. But she made it stretch. She made us happy. She made and it wasn't just the six of us. There were others that came in.
Always. Yeah.
And sometimes I remember, we would wake up and we would find other people sleeping on our floor,
Yeah.
but they felt comfortable there. And now it's so refreshing to hear other people that miss our mom and dad
Oh,
too,
yeah.
and have
Especially
special
after all this
memories
time.
after all this time, and they
Yeah.
missing them just as much as we do, and in different ways. And sometimes, even after what 20 some years, there's still stories that we hear that we haven't heard before. Your mom did this, your dad did this, your mom said this, your dad said this, and it's such a blessing. It's
A
such a blessing. They
and
didn't
that's
have money
exactly
to leave to us, but they left their
they left
legacy
that
in love.
legacy. And that's
Mhm.
exactly why this Memories of Margaret was started. Because
Mhm.
there are so many stories that you and I don't know about. Like I said, we left home. So
Right.
there's a lot we
Right.
don't know. And to hear that, and
Mhm.
that's why I want to get those stories. Like I had told people, before, if they're camera shy, don't want to come on camera, just send me the stories. But I love to share that because of the
Mhm.
impact that
Mhm.
they've had on not only us children, but
Right.
the community at large
After so many years.
after so many years.
Mhm.
Now, when you hear the story, I mean, the poem, I Love People, or the poem People Watcher, do you have any specific stories or memories that come to mind when you hear that?
Not really. I mean, there's a lot of different things, and I'm sure as I think about it, I will remember, but I do know she was before her time. She was a Renaissance woman. She wanted to do things. And I remember she in her poetry writing, she came to Orlando. She was selected, I guess, by the World of Poetry, and that was something that was so exciting for her. She
Yeah.
came to Orlando. I went over there to, to get her and be with her and all. And I mean, just different things. And like, like we see as we read both of these poems, she could sit down and just sit there and write a poem about what she's looking at. So many of us would sit in a place and be frustrated by what we see, who we see, what they're doing, and then forget it when we leave there. But she would write a poem. She
About
would write a poem.
everything. One quick one that comes to mind, I'm not going to find it right now, but it's in the book. It talks about night tree, and
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
a,
yeah.
it's about food. It's about eating like some kind of food at night. Everything, like you said, everything that came to her mind, she could make a poem of.
Hmm.
And then I think I mentioned this possibly in a previous episode or maybe just in conversation. The one that really I chuckled about a lot is hindsight. Because
Hmm.
at the time before I read the poem, I thought it was about maybe her cancer journey, which I haven't gone into yet in any episodes. But it was like hindsight. And I thought, oh, she's reflecting on life or whatever. But it says, and I remember this one, it just says hefty women who wear slacks should see themselves behind their backs. Oh, that just showed part of her humor, because she was spiritual, but she was humorous. She was reflective. She gave people encouragement. Mama did so many different things on so many different levels.
Hmm.
And I really
Hmm.
don't think mama or daddy knew the impact that they had on the people that they touched.
Right. And I don't think either one, but it's not up to us to say, but reach their potential. I
That's
don't believe
true.
either one of them reached their potential. And even daddy, he was more quiet. He was quieter than mama, and he, was observing, but he still made a lot of impact, whereas she would be more forceful and more outspoken with her words,
Right.
but he still had such an impact, and he would tease people, and he would, laugh at people too, but in his own way. But mama would always, and she does, I don't know if she realized that, these poems are her legacy, that we read now, that we laugh and we cry when we read, and we chuckle and we share them, and other people are so inspired by what she did and what they both did.
Absolutely. Like I say, I just love that. I think that part of my determination and my uh, persistence comes from mama.
Hmm.
And in a different way, just some of the things that she did, because remember, she never drove. Well, I guess, like I said previously, except for that one time, and I haven't told that story yet. but she never dropped, but she could figure things out. And I think I
Right,
got that from
right.
her. It was like there was nothing. I mean, look what she was responsible for. She was responsible for all of us. Daddy, Aunt Belle, like I said, sometimes Aunt Mary, sometimes other people that stayed with us, and she had to figure it out. She
Yeah.
had to figure out how to make it work.
Mhm.
And I think I got some of that from her.
Mhm.
But what I want to do now is want to pivot a little bit. I don't want to take up too much of the time, but I want to pivot a little bit and just share, because it says we have 10 minutes. So I'm going to share quickly
Oh
just a
yeah.
few pictures with you and see, just kind of briefly tell me about the pictures. And I'm not going to show all of them, just some of them.
Okay. Yeah, that picture is me. Daddy's holding me, and we're looking at Mama, and she just had my brother Jimmy. I'm not sure how old he was, but we can see us admiring the baby, and I think I was kind of fascinated with another baby. I was the baby for a little bit, but I love that picture, and I love to see the youngness in their faces and the
And to me,
anticipation.
look at that. That profile looks exactly like Billy. It
That's
just is.
Billy. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Billy.
just exactly. Hmm.
Okay. There.
Yep, that's and I guess I could see that I was trying to keep my brother in the picture, but he had other plans.
Right. Look at it. And you say, look at it. He look like he's choking. So I don't know what he's doing. Like, moving right along. Um, oh, look. There you are
Yeah,
again.
and we always had animals, and this is dogs, I guess. Daddy, well, it is dogs that Daddy had, and we're admiring the dogs, and me and little Jimmy.
Wonderful. Is that clothes on a line or something in the background? It's what it
Probably
looks like.
so. Mama always had to, had to wash and hang them out, and sometimes it might rain while they're hanging out, and just so many distractions and so many things against her, whereas we can do so much more now, but she was determined.
Absolutely. Look,
Yeah, and
here's
this is
another.
another beautiful picture that I love. And
I love that picture too.
yeah, our eyes are all anticipating whatever might be. And we saw good. We
Look
don't
at
know
the
what
hope for the
anybody else
future.
saw, but we saw good, and we saw happiness as
Absolutely.
whoever's taking the picture, and I'm laughing, and they're smiling.
Like I said, that's a beautiful, and
Uh,
again, Jimmy's off somewhere. But anyway, next.
yes, and
That's another picture.
that's another picture of after the other brothers came. There was Billy and Kenny, and of course that's Aunt Mary. She was our dad's our dad's aunt,
Right.
mother's sister, and then Peggy Hanley was our cousin, and she stayed with us for a while. So we did have our extended family, and Mama and Daddy responsible for someone else in our family. And this picture shows that we weren't that well groomed at that time, but we had love.
Oh, look at that love. I'm gonna say you can just see it. Here
Yeah,
we're looking at 4 generations. So
this
just
is
kind of
for
tell us who this is.
this is 4 generations. This is me, right there, and that's Mama, and my Mama's mother, Mabel Buggs, and then my son T, Council the Third, and this is at in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at my grandmother's house. And I love this picture. There's 4 generations.
So this was probably what, late either, wait a minute, early 80s, maybe?
Maybe,
Based on
yeah,
teen days?
because he was probably around 2,
Okay.
maybe
Okay.
maybe 2. He might not have been 2, but he was um he was born in 78, so probably early 80s.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, thank you for narrating that. So I'm going to wrap this up now, but again, any final points or anything would you like to make before we kind of wrap everything up?
My final point, well, there's so much to say and so little time to say it, but I just want to thank you for bringing this and for doing this and for um, getting this together for us because, a lot of times we say we should do this. Okay, let's do it. And then 10 more years go by, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. And I was reading something today, a post on Facebook, and said, families, stop letting the morticians plan your family reunion.
Oh my God, that's so true.
And I was like, oh my God, that is very true. And we say we're going to do this as a family. And then when that family does come together for that service, they say, we've got to do better. But it doesn't happen.
And
All
don't do
the
better
time.
until the next time.
Until the next time, because I remember when Jimmy passed, there were so many that we hadn't seen for so long. And then we saw them and we said, we need to do this. And it hasn't happened. So
But we're going to do it. I can
we're
say,
going to do it. And I appreciate you for this. This is
you're
so
very welcome,
special.
Sissy.
This is so very special.
Well, thank you again for joining and agreeing to be a guest
Thank
today.
you so much.
Now, you and I had discussed that we would like to have, or I would like to have each sibling as a guest. And then once each sibling has had an opportunity to appear solo, I want one episode of featuring all of us together.
I do too.
I think that's going to be fun to
I
navigate.
think that'll be fun. We
Like
might
I
take
say,
a longer time, but
oh, it's probably going to be double the time because I'm really going to have to navigate things then. But
and
again,
I think Mama and Daddy are so happy about this.
I hope so. I can say,
Yeah.
this is just to memorialize them and have the memories of Margaret, like I said, and Howard.
And Howard.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sissy.
Thank you. And thank you all again for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Memories of Margaret on YouTube or Spotify by simply clicking the subscribe button. Also, like us and follow us on Facebook page, Memories of Margaret. If you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, leave me a message on the Facebook page, again, Memories of Margaret, or send an email to memoriesofmargaretnaomi@gmail.com. Again, that's Memories of Margaret Naomi, Naomi, @gmail.com. In the next episode, I will be sharing more poetry and memories of Margaret. So until next time, make memories with your family. Thank you.
Thank you.